What's going on, everybody? Thank you guys so much for watching the show. Wanted to talk to you about our friends over at Prize Picks, the best place to win cash while watching sports. This app is really easy to use. You just pick more or less on a few player stats, and you could win up to 1,000 times your cash on a single lineup. Best of all, Prize Picks will give you $50 when you play your first $5 lineup. Win or lose, you'll get $50 for playing. Use the promo code PFF and download the app now. They ended up taking Derek Harmon, defensive tackle from Oregon, in the first round. Third round, they ended up taking running back Caleb Johnson, who I think is an excellent fit for Arthur Smith in that offense. Fourth round, Jack Sawyer. Fifth round, Yaya Black, so two defensive linemen there. Sixth round, they took Ohio State quarterback Will Howard. Seventh round, linebacker Carson Bruner. And then in their final pick of the seventh round, cornerback Dante Kent from Western Michigan. No quarterback until the sixth round here for the Pittsburgh Steelers. It looks like Aaron Rodgers is going to be their quarterback at some point in time. Dalton, the PFF staff gave the Steelers a B+ here for this draft. What'd you think?
Yeah, I think if you look at the players that they did get, if they went into this draft knowing at least 95% sure that Aaron Rodgers was going to be their quarterback, then they had a pretty darn good draft. Derek Harmon led the nation in pressures last year from the interior. Caleb Johnson led the Power 4 in yardage on zone runs, over 1,100 yards on zone runs, and the Steelers ran zone in their running game 63% of the time, one of the highest rates in the league. Obviously, that comes with Arthur Smith as your offensive coordinator, so you're right. He's absolutely a good fit. You know me, you're a little lower on him than me. I think they got a fantastic value in Jack Sawyer in the fourth round, and you look at, I looked at him as a second, or, I know a lot of people were off the late first round train there. I had him as a top 40 player. I think to get him, and he just feels like a Pittsburgh Steeler there, and I think getting Will Howard in the sixth as a developmental guy and somebody who can really throw the deep ball, 96.3 deep passing grade last year. The Steelers were fourth in deep passing rate and first in deep passing grade. We know all the moon balls Russell Wilson was throwing. That's where Will Howard wants to throw the football, is downfield. So I think, you have a lot of really good value if they were not going to go the franchise quarterback route, the early Jackson Dart, Jalen Milroe route here. Harmon makes their defensive line depth better. Johnson might be their starting running back. Sawyer makes their D-line depth better. Howard, you get a developmental guy. And one thing I just noticed, I didn't notice it until just now, outside of their seventh round, their last pick, Dante Kent, every single player here taken from the Big Ten, which probably tells you the type of football the Steelers are always trying to play, and they just go right next door over to the Big Ten, to Ohio State, and some of it West Coast too, obviously with Oregon and Washington, so it's cheating a little bit there. But I was just now noticing that. I'm like, okay, yeah, this is the type of football the Steelers are still trying to play.
I like the grade of a B+. I agree. I think this is a B+ grade here. Derek Harmon, it's a little bit overdrafted for me, but I know that they wanted to get another interior defensive lineman in there. I think he was higher on the Pittsburgh Steelers team-specific top 100 than he was on my individual sort of as a whole, just looking at the league as a whole, looking at these prospects as a whole. I think I had Derek Harmon late 30s, early 40s. He was higher on the Pittsburgh Steelers board because I think he is a good fit for them. And you got to think, Walter Nolan was off the board. Kenneth Grant was off the board. Mason Graham obviously off the board. So this is the next guy that they felt like they could get. They wanted to jump on it. I understand that. I think that Caleb Johnson's an excellent fit here for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He is also somebody who was higher on the Steelers specific team top 100 that we did over at PFF.com than he was where I had him on the individual big board. But I think that it was good value no matter what, because I love him in Arthur Smith's wide zone rushing scheme. I think that is where he is best. Jack Sawyer, for as much as, I sort of push back on people who wanted Jack Sawyer in the second round, fourth round's nice. Fourth round's really nice. I think he's a solid defensive lineman. I think somebody who's going to be a good run defender. I don't know if he'll ever be the athlete enough to be a good sack player in the NFL, or at least a consistent backfield player in the NFL, but he's very technically sound. He's going to be where you want him to be, and I think he's going to be able to defend the run for you as a nice rotational player. I'm not a big Yaya Black guy, so I felt like that was a little bit of an overdraft, but so be it. They're just trying to get bigger in the trenches and get younger guys in the trenches. I actually love Will Howard. Will Howard was my QB4 in this class. I'd have been comfortable taking him where Dylan Gabriel got taken in the back end of the third round, early part of the fourth round. So to get him in the sixth, I thought was very nice for them. Carson Bruner can be a special teams demon, and his dad is a scout for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And so a little bit of a feel-good story there that I liked. And then I think Dante Kent, a depth guy, but most likely a guy who's going to make a name for himself if he sticks on the roster in special teams. So I like the B+ here for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think they did a nice job outside of addressing quarterback early, outside of, passing on Shedeur Sanders a couple of times. very clearly they were not in on Shedeur Sanders, and they didn't want to draft him wherever it was because they had multiple chances to do it, not just at 21. So they were not going to draft him. Looks like Aaron Rodgers is going to be their quarterback, and with that being their total game plan there, I do like what the Pittsburgh Steelers did, giving them a B+.